The moment the bride's face was pushed into the wedding cake, the entire ballroom fell silent. Crystal glasses stopped halfway to trembling lips. Guests stared in disbelief as the billionaire's bride, Eleanor Whitmore, struggled to lift her head from the layers of white frosting and roses. Standing beside her was the mansion's quietest maid, Clara Bennett, her hands shaking but her eyes filled with determination. Behind them, the groom, Adrian Whitmore, stood frozen, still holding the silver cake server. Nobody understood why the maid had just ruined the most expensive wedding cake in the city. But then Clara pointed toward the cake and cried out that Eleanor had poisoned it. And suddenly, the humiliation everyone had witnessed became the beginning of a truth that would change the Whitmore family forever. Before we continue, if you believe in humanity, second chances, kindness, and the courage to stand up for what is right, please like this video, share it with someone who believes every person deserves to be heard, and subscribe to Humanity Tales. Because sometimes the person everyone ignores is the only person brave enough to tell the truth. Clara had worked inside the Whitmore mansion for almost 3 years. She knew how to disappear into the background, how to carry trays without making a sound, and how to survive the cold judgment of wealthy people who barely noticed her existence. She had grown up with very little, but her mother had taught her one thing that money could never buy: never betray your conscience just to make your life easier. Clara remembered those words every morning when she entered the mansion, especially after Eleanor became Adrian's fiancée. Eleanor was beautiful, sophisticated, and admired by everyone in their social circle, but Clara had noticed something others had not. Whenever Adrian was around, Eleanor appeared loving and gentle. When he left the room, her expression often became cold. At first, Clara tried to convince herself that she was imagining things. She had no right to judge her employer. She was only a maid, after all. But strange incidents began happening around the mansion. Important documents disappeared from Adrian's study and later turned up in places where Clara had cleaned. A valuable necklace went missing from Eleanor's bedroom, and Clara was quietly blamed for not securing the room properly. Adrian had defended her that time, but Eleanor's smile had told Clara that the accusation had not been accidental. Clara began feeling as though someone wanted her gone. Then came the wedding week. The mansion transformed into a palace of flowers, chandeliers, musicians, and endless deliveries. The wedding cake was enormous, covered with delicate white frosting and hundreds of edible roses. It had been prepared by an exclusive pastry chef and guarded carefully because it was meant to be the centerpiece of the reception. On the morning of the wedding, Clara was assigned to help arrange the dining hall. While carrying a tray through a side corridor, she noticed Eleanor entering the kitchen alone. Clara stopped when she saw the bride remove a small container from her handbag. She could not hear everything Eleanor was saying, but she saw her pour something into a small bowl and then move toward the cake. Clara immediately felt that something was terribly wrong. She wanted to confront her, but fear held her back. Who would believe a maid over the billionaire's bride? Clara watched Eleanor leave and then cautiously approached the cake. There was something unusual about one section of frosting. Clara did not touch it. Instead, she immediately told the head chef what she had witnessed. The chef panicked and called the wedding coordinator, but before anyone could investigate, Eleanor appeared and demanded that everyone leave the kitchen. She insisted that Clara was spreading malicious rumors because she was jealous of the wedding. Clara was humiliated in front of the staff. Eleanor accused her of trying to destroy the wedding and ordered security to escort her outside. Clara begged them to listen, but nobody did. Then, just before she was taken away, she noticed something on the cake table that changed everything: a tiny piece of paper tucked beneath the decorative stand. She recognized the handwriting immediately. It belonged to Adrian. The note contained a warning about a financial document Adrian had recently discovered. Someone inside the family was secretly transferring money from one of his companies. Clara suddenly understood that the poisoning might not be about the wedding at all. It might be part of a much larger plan. Clara broke away from the guards and rushed back into the ballroom just as Adrian prepared to cut the cake. She shouted that he could not serve it. Eleanor immediately stepped between them and accused Clara of being unstable. The guests began whispering. Adrian looked confused, caught between the woman he was about to marry and the maid who had served his family faithfully for years. Clara knew she had only seconds. Seeing that nobody would listen, she made a desperate choice. She grabbed Eleanor and pushed her forward, causing the bride's face to land in the cake. The scene was shocking, embarrassing, and completely unexpected. Eleanor rose from the frosting in disbelief, while the guests gasped. Clara pointed toward the untouched section of cake and begged Adrian to have it tested. For several painful seconds, nobody moved. Then Adrian noticed the tiny container Clara had described earlier lying near the kitchen entrance. He ordered his security team to preserve the cake and contacted the authorities. The wedding celebration was immediately stopped. Hours later, the truth began to emerge. The cake contained a substance that could have caused serious harm if consumed. Investigators also discovered that Eleanor had been secretly communicating with Adrian's business partner, Victor Hale. Financial records revealed that millions had been transferred from Adrian's companies through accounts connected to Victor. Eleanor had planned to marry Adrian while helping Victor gain control of parts of his fortune. The poisoned cake was supposed to make the entire incident look like an unfortunate accident during the wedding celebration. But Clara had noticed. Her courage had saved Adrian and exposed a betrayal that money, beauty, and influence had nearly hidden. Yet Clara did not feel victorious. She sat alone in the servants' quarters that night, still wearing her stained uniform, wondering whether she had gone too far. Adrian found her there. Instead of being angry, he thanked her. He told her that while everyone else had been afraid of losing their positions, she had been willing to risk hers to save another person. For the first time in years, Clara felt seen. Adrian later cleared her name publicly and apologized for allowing his family to treat her as though her social position made her voice less valuable. He offered her a position managing one of his charitable foundations, but Clara accepted only after making him promise that the foundation would help workers and families who were often ignored by wealthy society. Months later, Clara stood in a community center funded by that foundation, watching children receive school supplies and families receive assistance. She realized that the greatest change had not been exposing Eleanor. It had been discovering that her own voice mattered. The wedding never happened. Eleanor faced the consequences of her actions, while Adrian rebuilt his life with greater humility. And Clara remained the person she had always been, kind, courageous, and unwilling to remain silent when something was wrong. Sometimes, truth does not arrive wearing an expensive suit or standing beneath a chandelier. Sometimes it arrives in the form of someone everyone has learned to overlook. And sometimes, the person society considers powerless is the very person who has the courage to save everyone else. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes kindness still matters, and subscribe to Humanity Tales for more emotional stories about courage, justice, and second chances. And before the story ends, comment, "Courage speaks the truth," if you believe we should never judge someone by their job, wealth, or social position. Because Clara was only a maid in the eyes of the world. But when the moment came to choose between silence and truth, she proved that courage has no social class, and sometimes, one brave person can change everything.